So top left, you see the recording button on. But you say that you can't hear me?
She said that she didn't have the right link. She was in a different meeting. So
now, okay, very good. Okay, wonderful. And I just texted with Chris, and I will go ahead and chair the meeting today. He's on the road, so I will call this meeting to order. It is January 28th at 2 p.m. Let's see. And we've got Chris. Is Chris on the line? Do I see?
I'm here. I'm in the wind, but I'm here.
Okay, fabulous. We've got Chris. This is good. Pulling up the agenda. I've got to get my computer up and running here. Okay. All right. Do we have any additions or corrections?
There are none.
There are none, with some echo. Do we have any public comment for today for items not on the agenda? Megan, do you have comments? Oh, I do see. Okay, sorry. I see Robert. Hi, Robert. Could we unmute Robert so he can share some public comment? Do we have to give permission?
Hit *9.
It looks like he's on Zoom, so we may have to give him permission to unmute himself.
Okay. I promoted him so he could speak.
Robert, you've now been promoted to a panelist. I think we can hear you. Nope, we can't hear you. We'll need you to unmute yourself, Robert. Can we unmute Robert from a panelist?
I'm trying to do that.
Let me try it now.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Robert. You are welcome to share some public comment with us.
Well, I just wanted to say that Communities for Sustainable Monterey County has attended these meetings in the past several years, and we'll continue doing that, mainly because our mission is very much in sync with the purpose of this group. So I just wanted to say, welcome now as our chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining, Robert. And I think it is great to have Communities for Sustainable Monterey County present with us. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I will move right along to our consent calendar, which is to elect our committee members to serve as chair and vice chair of the Alternative Energy and the Environment Committee. I believe that Supervisor Parker was chair last year, so I would like to, in the spirit of rotation, move that Supervisor Lopez be nominated as chair for 2021. Do you have any reason not to want to move that forward, Chair Lopez?
No objections. Thank you.
No objections. Okay, fabulous. So consensus, we will move forward. Approval of minutes from last meeting, which was on December 3rd. And I was not at the December 3rd meeting. So I will defer to Chair Lopez if you have any changes or amendments.
None from me. They look good to me. Thank you, guys.
Okay, fabulous. Item number 3 on our agenda today is to receive a presentation from our Monterey County Office of Education and Monterey County Sustainability Program on the Partnership for a Youth Climate Leadership Council, and to provide direction to staff. So with that, I will pass it over to maybe Ashley to introduce our guests. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And good afternoon, supervisors and members of the public. This is a topic that I'm really excited to talk about. This is our student engagement efforts for the Climate Action Plan. This actually stemmed from a project that Supervisor Lopez had mentioned to me last year, prior to COVID taking center stage with the Monterey Bay Aquarium's youth engagement in terms of climate change. And I really wanted to kind of involve them in our Climate Action Plan. And so as part of our Climate Action Plan, the program had felt that it would be inspirational to engage with our youth on this topic and just give them a chance to share their perspective on what Monterey County could look like in 2030. because, you know, in 10 years, these kids are going to be the movers and shakers in the county. And we just want to hear their voices and give them a chance to be a part of the civic action that they can hopefully help us to see through. And I just want to read a quick quote, because I think the climate crisis can really seem overwhelming at times. And, you know, in the words of a young activist, a vibrant, fair, and regenerative future is possible, not when thousands of people do climate justice activism perfectly, but when millions of people do the best that they can. So this quote really spoke to me as we think about this effort, because what we want to do is empower people of all ages and demographics to act and do what they can do locally. And we don't expect everybody to get it perfect every single time, but it's just important to get the word out and start somewhere. So I reached out to the Monterey County Office of Education and was able to get in touch with a really great and active and inspirational set of individuals. That's Will Frenzel and Jennifer Elliman. And Will is an educational administrator for the Science STEAM team at the County Office of Education. And Will is responsible for facilitating science professional learning opportunities with K through 12th grade educators. And he meets with educators regularly throughout the school year to provide support with next generation science standards. His skills include designing, developing, and implementing workshops that are aligned with the next generation science standards. And he approaches this work with a combined lens of empathy and equity. And his programs help to foster creative confidence through innovation, collaborations, and deeper learning experiences. And then also Jennifer is the educational administrator for language and literacy and history of social science civics. She has served the region. She has served as Region 5 leader for the Content Literacy Inquiry and Citizenship Project, the Constitution Project, Count Me In Census 2020 Project, the History of Social Science Subcommittee of the Curriculum and Instruction Steering Committee, and the California County Superintendent's Educational Services Association. And she's also the Central Area Vice President of the California Council for Social Studies. Her work supports educators and students to develop culturally and linguistically, empowering civic learning opportunities, building school community partnerships, and working to achieve deeper learning competencies for college, career, and global citizenship. And you know, I'm going to skip this slide here. They're both doing some really great work promoting environmental literacy and next generation science standards, which allow our teachers to use these really interesting tools like project-based learning or other hands-on approaches. And so through our meetings together, we decided that engaging with our school districts could take the form of a youth leadership council, at least at first. And so we decided to kick that off with a series of webinars where we would lead the students through a set of framing questions and discussions that would allow them to kind of form the basis for continued activation. And our initial call is actually today, where we're going to be kicking off this program from 4 to 5. And we're going to be holding these webinars monthly over the next couple of months on Thursdays from 4 to 5. Those are the series dates on our flyer, which we've been promoting through social media and other outlets. And, you know, we hope that the outcome of this series can become a discrete project, maybe some research or a set of actions or recommendations that we can include in the climate action plan, or a competition with artwork or something else where students can really put their thoughts and dreams to work and just learn about civic engagement. So I'm so pleased with the work of the County Office of Education because, you know, they've really taken the lead in this area, and it's something that I'm, you know, somewhat of a novice in because I haven't been to school in quite some time, and, you know, my 2-year-old is not really ready to discuss greenhouse gases. So Will and Jennifer, do you want to share some thoughts on this initiative, or should I go to Jennifer? Should I go to your slide?
Yeah, we can go right to the slide and use that to share. We're not seeing the slide deck. We're seeing the agenda items.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On the screen.
Sorry about that. I have to reshare the slide deck. Thank you for letting me know.
There we go. Yeah. So we're really excited to join you and contribute to this project. the series with students starts today, so we're excited. We have several students signed up, and it's really open. So, adult allies, parents or educators who are interested can also attend, but we will be getting into some breakout sessions with students based on elementary, middle, high school, and college students. But we do plan to collaborate with the CSUMB Service Learning Institute as well, so that the college students can really support the K through 12 students in this project. And we really want to center student voice and make sure this does become a youth-led project. And we understand within those breakout rooms within Zoom, students will come up with some different ideas, and there are so many aspects of the projects that they could create and contribute to, from doing scientific research to raising awareness and contributing to public education, to the art and activism aspects of the project. So it's really what they're interested in, and we would help to frame the learning with inquiry, and we can provide the support to teachers as well with instructional tools, lesson resources, connecting to the standards and frameworks. And we have tools for like design thinking approaches for students to really envision what they want Monterey County to look like in 2030. And we have been working with students, so we want to build on the great work that students have been doing to collaborate with us around Census 2020 outreach, Election 2020 education outreach, and now with this initiative, Youth Climate Leadership, and contributing to the Monterey County Climate Action Plan and the Community Toolkit in their communities, as well as in the classrooms, those connections for teachers who are participating in our webinars and receiving our resources, who we're also collaborating with to develop new curriculum resources. We're collaborating with local programs like the Ports program and organizations like CUE to integrate the social emotional learning with the environment, and EdTech, of course. Right now with distance learning, it's heavy on the EdTech. And at some point, hopefully we'll all be together in person one day. But for now, it is convenient to be able to meet on Zoom and bring together people from different parts of the county and bring youth together to contribute to this great action plan. So thank you, Ashley, for reaching out to Dr. Deneen Gus, our superintendent, who reached out to Will, and then Will brought me in. So I'm going to pass it to Will to elaborate a little bit more as well.
Yeah, thanks again, Ashley, for inviting us today. And thank you, Jennifer, just for all the details on this project. We're super excited to be here. I did get an email from Dr. Gus, and actually our first meeting with Ashley, both Jennifer and I were sitting out on the atrium, and I'm talking with Ashley and thinking about all the possibilities for connections. And Jennifer was out there, and I'm looking up and I'm like, Jennifer needs to be part of this conversation. This is not only in our science framework, but it's also part of our history social science framework. And it's very aligned with project-based learning, getting students involved in community projects to have a positive impact. I know Jennifer mentioned the Q, so like Monterey Bay Q Film Festival with student-powered film festivals coming up on Earth Day. So we're trying to bring that in as well, and just kind of really looking at all our different circles and trying to see where there's overlap and offer these opportunities, build these relationships that we started a few years ago. And I think this is really what kind of, it fills that need for what's missing in distance learning, where it does sometimes kind of fall flat with our students. This gets them excited. They really want to get involved. It builds that student agency. It gets them thinking about how can I make a positive change, starting right here with my own family, maybe at school, in our community, and then beyond that, depending on their age level. And again, I think the driving kind of guiding question about how can we imagine Salinas in 2030, what do we want it to be like? And getting that student voice, activated, because they really will be, like Jennifer and Ashley, I think you said, the leaders of our community in the next decade to come. So really kind of nurturing that they're coming to us with in elementary school, and then in middle school and high school, getting them connected so their voice is amplified. Right. And then take it, maybe try to recreate this model in other counties where we have other students really leading the way with designing, our city of the future, really, and really always using that environmental literacy lens, our scientific literacy lens, our informed citizenship lens, and just understanding how we are all connected. So thanks again for having us here today. Really appreciate being part of this group.
Okay, so this was just a informative presentation, and we're open to hearing your thoughts and direction.
Fabulous, thank you. And just a huge shout out to our educators for coordinating and working with us. Supervisor Lopez, do you have any comments you'd like to share?
I'd like to hear from the public. I'm curious. I love the concept. Obviously, that's why we're here, but I'd love to hear from the public before I make my comments.
Of course. All right, public comment. Who do we have on the line? I see a handful of folks who've joined us today. I don't know if we have any students or other educators who want to share any thoughts or feedback with us. Oh, good. Robert, let's see. Can we give Robert, yep, you're unmuted, Robert.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to mention that Communities for Sustainable Monterey County, one of our strategic goals is education. And we have a small committee that's working on that. And one of their goals is to educate through teachers in schools the whole concepts of climate change, and actually try to get it into the school curriculum. So I just wanted to mention that there might be some connection there somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And who would the point of contact be for Jennifer and Will and Ashley?
Well, it would be Kathy Rivera, our president of CSMC, and
Okay.
And I think she's actually on that committee too. So she'd be the right person to talk with.
Okay, fabulous. We will make sure we get those connections made. Thank you, Robert. Anyone else for public comment? I don't see anybody else raising their hand, so I'll bring it back to Supervisor Lopez.
So I love the concept. I think we can even go beyond, right? I think we could put a lot of issues in front of our youth council, and I do think that this is a vital one. I just want to keep it open, I guess, in terms of the content that they'll help us address. But yeah, I'm totally on board and would wonder sort of what our next potential steps would be to move a project like this forward. And that's sort of where my thoughts are at this point.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm absolutely supportive, like couldn't be more supportive. Before joining the County Board of Supervisors, I served on the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District Board of Education, and we worked in partnership with the Schools for Climate Action Group to bring forward a resolution that the school, Monterey Peninsula Unified passed. And there is a lot. I mean, I think I'm been so impressed by the leadership that school districts have shown, just in terms of it. In terms of moving to solar power, bringing in alternative transportation models, supporting educational opportunities for kids, everything from the recommitting to getting kids out to science camp where they can experience, something different maybe than what they experience on their day-to-day life. I think that really opens eyes and opens doors for the future. So I would love to support having our sustainability program at the county work in partnership with the County Office of Education. I think, some very specific actionable goals would be, both, yes, working with our students, but having our students do some education to all of the school districts and their boards of education to bring additional allyship for some of the climate action, specific climate action resolutions that school districts can pass. And then possibly also when we talk about, there's a whole list of, anyway, I'd be really curious to see what students come up with in terms of specific actions that they want to take to advance the conversation and to push. Really, for me, I think the value of this would be to give students the opportunity to learn how how policy is developed, both on a local, on a regional, and on a statewide level. So if it's bringing students into this space here with us, if it's bringing students in as with specific projects, if it's working with students to have them help us identify or come up with ideas for local power generation for 3CE. I know there's an RFP out right now, whether it's working with some of our microgrid opportunities through county facilities that we're working on. I have a lot of ideas for what could be the specific projects or outcomes of this, but I think having the youth have the opportunity to learn and come up with those on their own would also be really powerful. So 100% supportive, and anything I can do to help move it forward, I'm on board.
Thank you.
Do you need any more direction?
I think that's good for now.
Okay, fabulous. Chris, do you have anything else to offer in terms of direction?
No, I think that covered it. I'm on board.
Okay, fabulous. All right, so with that, with consensus, we will accept the presentation and have a strong statement of support from Chair Lopez and myself, and move on to item number 4. Jennifer, thank you for joining us. Will, thank you for joining us. We'll see if we can pop into the forum later on today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, receive a presentation from the County Sustainability Program with updates from the Sustainability Program, including the 2021 request to the Board of Supervisors to apply for 2 Civic Spark Fellows in 21-22, discuss the multi-jurisdictional Climate Action Council concept, and provide direction to staff. Ashley, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Again, this is Ashley Paulsworth, and I didn't introduce myself earlier, so in case you don't know me, I am the Sustainability Program Manager for the county, and I'm going to share a presentation right now. So I want to make sure that I get it up there before I get started. Let's just make sure we got it. Okay. All right, great. Okay, so this presentation is a standing update from the sustainability program. So last year, after we resumed the AEE meeting, we started including this standing update from the sustainability program, which generally includes a few different topics. Okay, so as you mentioned, the recommendations are to receive the presentation and including updates from the program as well as the 2021 program plan, and recommend that we request to bring on 2 Civic Spark Fellows next year, and also discuss the multi-jurisdictional climate action plan and provide any other direction to the program. This is kind of an overview of program updates since our last meeting. And I'd just like to highlight these so that the committee is aware of the program's activities. So the program was awarded a grant from the Department of Conservation for the Climate Action Plan in the amount of $175,000. Subsequently, an RFP was released and is currently open for submissions. And the deadline to submit a proposal for the climate action plan is February 18th. So we also have a live link on the website right now to sign up for monthly updates for the climate action plan for members of the public and other stakeholders in the county that would like to be involved in the process through the various stakeholder engagement events that we have planned. And as part of the stakeholder engagement efforts, we have also initiated the Youth Leadership Climate Action Council, which we just talked about. The 2021 program plan for the sustainability program was completed and was submitted as an attachment to this staff report, along with the policies, proposed policies and bylaws for the Alternative Energy and Environment Committee to just sort of provide some direction for this committee. And finally, the program has also been looking at responding to the wildfire rebuild effort by providing some information on home hardening and reducing structural ignitability, including high performance home building techniques that can help to reduce emissions. Okie doke. This is just a kind of an update slide from the previous meeting where staff had mentioned that the program would be making a budget request for the climate action plan of approximately $250,000. But now that we're receiving funding from SALC for the plan, we can reduce the budget request for the completion of the plan for things that are either outside of the scope for the SALC grant or might cost more than the $175,000 that we're receiving, such as any CEQA review that needs to be done as part of the plan, which can be very in-depth. We also think potentially some separate funding may need to be applied to the municipal climate action plan update, since the SALC funding is focused on the community-wide climate action plan. Okay, and in any case, we will know more about this once we get our grant agreement in place with the Department of Conservation and have our RFP back from the consultants and get into the scoping of the climate action plan, which we will probably bring to this committee next time in early March. So in any case, there's some significant scoping work that needs to be done in the greenhouse gas emissions forecast and methodology for emissions, such as what approach we will use in terms of reductions. Okay. All right, as part of the program and what was included in the program plan are several areas where the climate action fellow would be helpful. And so a climate action fellow is typically a graduate level student with a background in and passion for sustainability and climate action issues who can work with the county on an annual basis on specific and concrete projects. So we really wanted, the program would like to maybe try taking advantage of this program to bring on 2 fellows in fiscal year 21-22 to work on the climate action plan and also the implementation of the municipal climate action plan strategies. So the municipal climate action plan strategies are much more fleshed out because we already have a plan that was adopted at one point. And so we have a much better understanding of the areas where emissions exist and what we can do to reduce them. And we've already been working on a lot of projects to kind of get started on that. The fellow for the municipal climate action plan would assist with creating department level presentations for fleet electrification or charging station analysis, as well as any internal zero waste or green purchasing analysis work that we would do to reduce our county consumables and waste products that we're creating at the county. The fellow who would assist with the climate action plan, the countywide climate action plan, would be involved in the CAP process itself. So they would be doing things like helping out with background research, summarizing meetings, facilitating outreach through social media and other platforms, and also drafting and reviewing the plan itself. So the fellow that would be assisting with the climate action plan could be funded through the SALC grant. And then the other fellow would require county support, which would be requested through the annual budget cycle. But I have to apply for the fellows in about a month or so. So basically at this point, we're just kind of looking for support on that. And then finally, this is the other topic that was included in the recommendations. And this is about the multi-jurisdictional Climate Action Council, which is not an official title, but is helpful in understanding what we're thinking of doing here. So what has happened is that through our work to include other jurisdictions in our stakeholder engagement process for the climate action plan, and also in our work on SB 1383, the program has determined that there is some interest among the jurisdictions in the county for a sort of multi-jurisdiction climate action council, if you want to call it that. So very few jurisdictions have enough staff and resources to support a full-time sustainability program, though in total, the jurisdictions that are within the county represent 72% of the residents in the county and likely a significant and similar proportion of the emissions. So certain efforts, such as those related to SB 1383, the short-lived Climate Pollutants Act, really require coordination across all jurisdictions and often have some duplicative efforts at the staff level. So by kind of creating a multi-jurisdictional climate action council, we have a good shot at streamlining and optimizing resources on sustainability efforts. Right now, AMBAG is currently producing local greenhouse gas inventories for each of the jurisdictions in the county. and we'll be revealing the results of those inventories to each jurisdiction individually shortly. We're expecting to bring the county-wide inventory projections to the next Alternative Energy and Environment Committee meeting, and also discuss the scope of the forecast emissions in relation to the Climate Action Plan. The initial goal of like a multi-jurisdiction council could be to discuss sustainability priorities for each jurisdiction at the high level. So, you know, what is the status quo of their climate action planning? And then where priorities and initiatives overlap, have open lines of communication to share knowledge and information, and maybe even jumpstart certain efforts and partnerships for regional grant applications or other things like that. Eventually, it might make sense to come together in a little more formal way to provide resources or a shared staff member or something like that across all the jurisdictions to conduct certain studies or assist in, again, streamlining resources. So I know this is a big concept. What you see here on the screen is just a list of all of the jurisdictions in the county and the contacts at each jurisdiction that are recommended to be contacted for climate action plan work by the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. And anybody that has a star next to their name has not been contacted yet by the county, okay? So others, people with the stars or people without stars, have been contacted, have expressed interest, and know that this is kind of something we're discussing at the county, and people with stars don't know. So their names are here because of the recommendations from the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. And that's the multi-jurisdiction climate action council concept. And that's it. So basically, this is just a preview of what we expect to bring to the next committee meeting. We hope to have some results from our fleet electrification study that we've been working on at the county, and also be able to take a look at the results of the greenhouse gas inventory that AMBAG has, and subsequently discuss some of the scope for the climate action plan. And that is all. Thank you.
Fabulous. You've been working really hard, Ashley, and it shows. Let's see here. So maybe we'll start with public comment. Any comment or feedback or reflections from the folks who are with us today in our attendees list? I see Robert. Thank you, Robert. If we could give him the chance to speak.
I have to admit that I have actually the last few days is the first time I went through the plan, the community climate action plan that Ashley has put together in detail. And I guess I had an epiphany last night when I was meditating, and I just 3 ideas popped into my head. So I just like to put them out on the table and see if any of them might have value. One thought I had is to expand the CCAP to the 3-county area, include San Benito County and Santa Cruz County and all the cities therein. A second idea was to actually get AMBAG more involved with it. I mean, instead of just working a little bit with AMBAG, I mean, make them a full partner in this, because, you know, they have a staff of 15 people, and there are some pretty good people there. I don't know if, Ashley, if you've met Amory or not, but there are some pretty smart people there that could actually do a lot of work on this. And the third suggestion is to, I mean, right now you have a plan for 6 stakeholder groups, okay? And an idea that popped into my mind was that maybe it would be beneficial to consolidate those 6 stakeholder groups into one group, and basically have representation from each of those 6 sectors: the agriculture, energy, transportation, water, waste management, and green buildings. The thought being that there's some synergisms that could play. For instance, to sequester carbon through agriculture, which is a big potential for doing that, you need to sort of involve waste management with that, because you got to have compost that meets all the specs that for agricultural needs. And so planning stakeholder meetings and a plan, I could see some benefits of actually combining them together, and it might actually make administration of it easier to have one stakeholder group instead of 6. So, I mean, those are just some ideas that came to me, but just some things to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you for taking the time to read through all the material. It's great. Also, we have Tom Ward. If we could give Tom the opportunity to unmute himself and share some feedback and reflections.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Hi, Tom.
Okay, great. Well, welcome, Supervisor Root Askew. Very happy that you are on this committee, and I hope you will continue the great work and support that was provided by Jane Parker. And I also represent the Communities for Sustainable Monterey County along with Robert, and we've been attending these meetings, and we've just been very impressed with the work that Ashley's been doing, and it's just the list of things that she's working on are all just going to benefit the county and move the county forward very quickly with sustainability. So just very pleased with what's going on and want to be supportive of that. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us today, Tom. It's great to have you here. Anyone else for public comment that would like to share reflections, thoughts, feedback, ideas? I don't see any other hands open or raised, so I'll bring it back to Supervisor Lopez for your thoughts.
I'm supportive of the proposal. I appreciate the update, and I think the 2 Spark Fellows is a great idea to help us do more work. I think keeping it in-house for now is what I'm comfortable with, but I do appreciate the understanding of where we sit today and the challenges that lie before us. So I'm prepared to support the staff recommendation.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair of this committee, Lopez. I had a couple questions, Ashley. The link, can we maybe push out to our county communications folks the link for people to sign up for the updates? I think that'd be a great thing for them to be inviting others to join us in this work. I may be recalling a conversation, it may have been addressed elsewhere, but I know that at one point Supervisor Lopez had asked about taking a closer look at the remote work and the impact that that's had on reduced transit of county employees. And I wasn't sure if that was, I didn't see it listed on the status update or if it was embedded somewhere else. But I thought that was a really important comment as we think about recovering and starting with vaccines and people beginning to return to the workforce. So if that is embedded somewhere else, I'd be interested. I'll just go through my list here. For Civic Spark, love the work that Local Government Commission does. Jane Parker sat on the board of LGC. I just interviewed last week to join the board of LGC, so that's something that I'm hoping I'll be moving forward with. And I did, in terms of the cost of the external or the remaining cost for the one Civic Spark position, is there any chance that we could get philanthropic contributions to cover that? I know that this work is of great interest to many in the community. And I know MBEP has an initiative underway. I don't know if any of their partners would be interested in helping us fund that. It was just a thought. In terms of the Multi-Jurisdictional Climate Action Council, again, I think you mentioned MBEP as being a partner in all of that. And I think finding a role or a place where we can have waste management be included in that as well, in some sort of formal seat would be important. But this is phenomenal progress, and I'm just so pleased. We went for so many years without having anyone dedicated to do this work, and I'm just overjoyed and so pleased that we're making progress. So those are my thoughts and comments, but I'd be happy to support the recommendation as well.
Great, thank you. And I can find some of the work that we did on the reduced transit. I worked together with HR to kind of catalog the amount of employees that were telecommuting, but it's been difficult because I think people because of the kind of start-stop nature of COVID, where we originally something like 25% of our employees were telecommuting full-time. So that was, a proportional decrease in our emissions. But then I think, people started going back in and then stopped going back in, and we haven't been able to track that aspect.
Can I say just on that, Ashley, I'd love to have just a number, right? Like an
Okay.
average number that we could apply per person. Because like we had some issues yesterday and today was chilling. None of those
Yeah.
people are commuting into work, and that's a significant amount. So even if we could calculate it based on the fact that all of those people are telecommuting today, as we go throughout the year, depending on what our daily situation is, I think it would just help us understand positive impacts that could be had by changing some policies. And I think that's the larger driver behind the request. But I appreciate you doing the work. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a code that is supposed to be going into the timekeeping system so that people can track their telework days, and then we'll be able to pull a report and we'll know more specifically what's going on.
Awesome.
We just don't have it yet.
That's interesting, Ashley. On the timesheet,
Yeah.
is that something that the employee would be entering? Because I don't think I'm entering. I haven't been entering anything.
I don't think there's a code yet.
There will be.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And then just the last question I have for you, just being the one person chair that you are, and there is capacity that's required to coordinate and work with Civic Spark Fellows to coordinate and steer a multi city council. Are you feeling like you have the capacity to continue to steer those things forward?
Yeah, so I tried to do quite a bit of scoping in the sustainability program 2021 plan. And where I think that, so there's certain things that, we absolutely have to do, right? We have to write the climate action plan. That's part of our general plan. We have to integrate adaptation into the safety element of our general plan. We have to integrate climate change into our local hazard mitigation plan. So there are things we have to do, and then there are things that we really want to be able to do that are really beneficial to the county. So those are things like the net zero pilot project and implementing level PG&E funded level 1 ASHRAE audits at our facilities so that we can, integrate preventative maintenance and electrical upgrades that will reduce our emissions substantially at the county and help us to achieve our climate action goals and also save money. And so where things, that's where I think that we could use additional staff is on the energy benchmarking and energy efficiency implementation of sustainability measures at the county.
Supervisor Askew, one quick thing to add to what Ashley just said. She and I have had some discussions over the last few weeks. When the sustainability manager position was added to the budget a couple of years ago, it was the position only. There was no program funding at all. And Ashley and I are going to be working together to look at what kind of resources do we need in order to really adequately operate the program. And that'll be part of our, at the very least, part of our budget proposal for the next fiscal year. So yeah, it is something we're looking at. Ashley's done a tremendous job, and she's one person. So we need to look at to be realistic about the resource situation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. And I know that I've had some conversations with facilities about where there may be overlapping opportunity to work together. And so I don't know if there's I think just making sure that we're leveraging all of the work that's being done elsewhere with the goals that we're putting in place here.
And that's a very good point. There is some sort of not overlap, but coordination between facilities and the sustainability program. My observation is Ashley and Lindsay Larrable have done a really good job working together on these kind of things. But yeah, that's part of what we're going to be looking at as we go forward. So.
Fabulous. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And it sounds like do you need any more direction, Ashley? Was there anything else you were looking for direction-wise from Chris and I?
No, thank you very much.
All right. I think, pulling back up my agenda, I think that was it, wasn't it? Did we have anything else? No? All right, then let's just maybe announce our next meeting. Do you have that date in front of you, Ashley? Or Megan, do we have the date of our next meeting we can announce?
Nothing on my end. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you so much, Supervisor Lopez. All right, then I guess we will adjourn our meeting for today. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And big thanks to Tom and Robert for joining us as well. Take care. Bye.
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 Bye.